Thank you.
Edition of the Pink Box. I'm Jane Roy, and I am here with Denise Antaya. Oh my goodness, I've been waiting to come and sit down and talk. I actually, in the summer, tried to do some filming, messed it up in terms of some of the sound, but you'll get to see some of that a little bit more. But Denise is an amazing plein air artist. I'm so inspired by your work. It's it's beautiful. I mean, we're sitting in the studio right now. We'll do a little bit of a walk around in a bit. But Denise, welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to talk to you.
Yeah, so we've been chatting a little bit over time. And part of the reason I find you so inspiring is, of course, the quality of the work, but you're incredibly passionate about what you do. And when I've talked with you about you're passionate about going out every day in terms of plein air, and of course plein air means you go outside. But why are you so passionate? And you've only been doing this for 8-9 years as far as the plein air portion. Plein air, yeah. But why plein air?
Well, I realized I used to do studio work all the time. And I realized that you have to have plein air in order to improve your studio work. Because when you work from photos lie. They compress the values, they make the darks too dark, they blow out the lights. So when you go out, you actually see what things look like. You can see values closer, photos take out the values, right? And so if you just do work from photos, you miss a lot.
But you are, well, I shouldn't say but, I mean, you miss a lot, but you know, your work is almost like a photo in terms of when you go out. I mean, it's not hyper realistic in terms of whatever, but it's very, very, very realistic. And I mean, that's like, what inspires you to do that?
That's how I always was. I was like that from a little kid.
Yeah.
I would be drawing with my sisters and stuff like that. And I remember my mom was telling me, she says, you and Mick, my sister Michelle, you were drawing, and she did some yellow grapes, and I looked at it and I said, what are you going to do? Like a purple banana? Like I was so put out that she didn't do it the way it was supposed to be. So obviously that's the way I am, right?
Yeah.
I always was that way.
Yeah. So that, in some senses, that's one of the good things about art is that we take our own tendencies and we take our own creativity to it.
Yeah.
And art, like, it's different things to different people. It's obviously, we all create a little bit differently. So here's a good question for you. Here's kind of a big one. What is art to you?
Oh boy.
I know that's a big question.
That is a big question.
So why are you an artist then?
There's nothing else that's the only thing I ever wanted to do. Always, from a little kid, that's always what I wanted to do. Something about it. I just feel, I see something that's beautiful, and nature's my thing, and I want people to see what I see. This is my interpretation of what I see. And I also like to document what is out there, because right now all the farms are getting bought out by developers and stuff, and so there's these big old barns and this great natural landscape that is being torn down and replaced by parking lots and buildings and stuff. And to me, it's a way of documenting the way it is now.
Yeah.
The way it shows you what the future is going to be. It shows you the past, and you see what it is at that point. And it's never going to be the same.
So I'd like to unpack that a little bit, because I think that's incredibly interesting. But before we get there, what is so important about art and doing art right now. And so it's not just about the what, because that's important, but for you in terms of this time period, in terms of what's going on.
I think because the world is so messed up right now, and the world needs beauty. There's a lot of hatred in the world right now, which is a sad thing. There's, as you know, there's all kinds of stuff going on that, you know, that the world's in a sad place. And I think we need the beauty that art brings just to give us hope.
Yeah, I know for me, part of the reason I'm incredibly drawn to landscape, and I mean, we're sitting here, it's beautiful, the work that's here, but it's because it, you know, when it's inside, it reminds you of the outside,
right.
and it kind of transports you. And when it's as beautiful as your work is, it's whether you've been to that exact scene, we've all been to places like that, and it kind of transports to kind of this bigger world, a quieter world, a simpler world, yep. To some degree. So this obviously segues into the what and why you do the barns and the rural scenes and the nature that you do.
Well, I grew up in the country. That's what I know. We'd be driving down the road. Dad would say, come on, we're going to go for a Sunday drive. We're driving down the road, and I'd be looking out the window, looking at the clouds. We'd be stuck in traffic. I'd be looking at the plants by the thing. How would I paint that? If I had to paint that, how would I paint that? And instead of getting mad, I remember coming home from work from downtown, and it gets congested sometimes. And I remember getting stuck in traffic. There's construction, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, how would I paint that? If I had to paint that, how would I do that? And I guess when you grow up in the country kids are different than city kids, right? And we see things differently, I guess. Not to say, like, there are a lot of painters that do cityscapes and that are amazing, and I couldn't even begin to do it. But I don't know. That's just
what, yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. I mean, so you're documenting the rural life, right, in many ways, because you see things changing, but you're also this is the world around us, and we oftentimes don't see the beauty. So in the ordinary.
That's right.
And you know, the ordinary tree, the ordinary barn, and they're not necessarily ordinary when you put them on paper, right?
No, but you might go by a scene and it's boring. You think it's boring, and then you go by it the next day and the light is a certain way, and you're like, oh my God, I have to paint that.
Yeah.
So every scene has its beauty,
yeah.
And people go out to paint and they're like, there's nothing to paint. There's always something to paint. You just have to look for it.
Yeah. So I came a number of weeks ago. We went outside and we filmed you plein airing. So we're going to show some of that a little bit later. I totally messed up the sound. Not Denise's sound, thankfully, but it was wonderful. The day was great. It started raining, and then obviously the sun came up. It's raining today, so we're not going to go out today. But I look at you, and again, you go out every day, almost every day.
I try to.
Yeah, and that becomes the practice. How do you do that and how do you stay inspired to continue going out when it's raining, when it's cold, when it's when it's not perfect?
I know. Well, I have one of the things I bought for the winter, because I did the January Strata Challenge, which was painting every day in the month of January.
Okay.
So of course, you know, the weather's not great. So I bought a steering wheel easel.
Really?
So I put it in my steering wheel, and if it's really bad, I can do it from the car, right?
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah. So plein air, obviously, you go out, and you've, we've seen your kit in terms of the backpack, etc. One of the things historically that made it good to go out. So the outside is your studio. So you come obviously here, but you head outside. Is the fact that during the time of the French Impressionists, paint tubes were invented, which allowed us and allowed people to go out. Otherwise, we'd be sitting in the studio
grinding
your pigments, etc. So the fact that you go out at any point, and you see the studio out there, that you make your way around it, which is great. So for a budding plein air artist or somebody who wanted to do that, what would be the one or two lessons or hints that you would give them?
I would say make sure that your kit is easily transportable, because a lot of times you're walking a lot and you can't get to your spot. You want to go to a spot and it's too hard to have tons of stuff. So keep it compact as much as you can. And I would say have a limited palette. I think part of the problem, some people will go out and they see all these colors, and like if you have your primaries and a white and a burnt umber, you can mix any color you want.
Yeah.
And also that's a really good way to start, because if people have too many colors, they don't have uniformity in their work, and it looks like things aren't looking right. But if you have limited palette, everything's gonna fit together.
Yeah, that's like an amazing tip, because what you're actually talking about is simplification, right?
Yep.
And everything about art in many ways is about simplification. You go outside and there's 360 degrees of information, and what do you pick? Well, you pick something.
That's right.
And then you simplify the scene. So if you simplify your kit, you simplify your palette,
right,
the colors you use, and you simplify the scene, like all of a sudden you end up with something really beautiful.
Well, yeah, you hope.
I guess that's true.
But you know what? Simplifying's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
That is the hardest thing to do, and every artist strives for that. They spend their whole career trying to simplify. I haven't really figured it out yet, but.
Well, but you're trying in that context.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I know I've gone out and I'm always thinking about the what ifs, so I end up taking too much, because like, what if I see this, or what if I see that? So that's exactly the point. Stay limited.
Yeah.
And you'll actually get out more, because if you're constantly trying to figure things out and take everything,
that's true. And there's some artists, really big names in the States, that go out and they treat plein air just as, they don't even do the whole scene. They don't even care about composition. They are going out there to get color notes. There are elements in the environment that they want to learn how to be better at, and so they won't come back with a completed painting, but they might take photos and they'll come back and they'll have all their little color notes and work from there.
Right. So sometimes it's about getting the impression and the sketch and being in the moment, depending upon the artist, the type of artist you are. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I did a little bit of research on, obviously, is Denise is getting to be more and more well-known internationally, both in terms of the States. She was on Landscape Artist of the Year a couple of years ago in Canada. Was one of the finalists there, which was great. But the whole process was great.
I actually have it here.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Well, we'll have a peek at it later. You've got a piece in Spain that's part of the plein air exhibit.
Yeah.
So those have been juried, which means a panel of art experts have looked at all of the submissions and selected certain particular ones to fit in.
Yeah.
And with regards to Spain, I think there was like thousands upon thousands of submissions, and yours happens to be just one of...
Yeah, there were over 3,400.
Yeah.
So what they did was they chose less than 2% to be in the physical show.
Yeah.
So they asked me if I would ship mine. So, but just to correct you, that was a studio piece. It wasn't plein air.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people get confused with plein air and studio. Plein air is quicker. And it has to be more. There's more simplified, right? Yeah, exactly. It's an impression. Whereas a studio, you have more time to work on something. You can do glazes, you can do layers and stuff. Whereas plein air, plein air you can do glazes. It's a matter of just going back multiple times.
Right. And glazing is?
Well, glazing is when you take your medium. And everybody works with different. So I use liquid, but some people use like just oil or whatever, linseed oil, walnut oil, different things. And you mix it with your paint, and use transparent, and you mix it so it's light, and you just put it over to alter the
color, and it's layers.
It's layers.
It's layers. Yeah. Okay. In the context of plein air. Painting a plein air piece might be finished in the studio, but essentially it's painting in one go. You're painting in whatever. A studio piece tends to be a lot more detailed, take a lot more time because of all the layers that are there. And particularly with oil, you need to either let them dry a little bit, particularly. Okay, so the piece in Spain was a studio piece.
It was a studio
piece. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my apologies about.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah. Don't worry. We get to cut this part out. So.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay. So, but one of the things I did a bit of research on was also there was a show called Into the Actors Studio. Which was on PBS for a while. So I'm starting to call this Into the Artist Studio.
Oh,
so I've got
good.
some questions for you that are quite similar. And I'm throwing this out.
Oh, boy.
See whether this makes the cut or not, we'll find out. And he would ask 10 questions, and of course they were designed more verbally because of course it's acting and it's and these are designed a little more visually because we're talking about communicating ideas through visual things. Okay, so. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Do you have a specific kind of blue?
More turquoise.
And why?
I don't know. It was forever it was pink, but now it's blue. I think that I know I use a lot. It's a natural color, right?
It's everywhere. Your most hated color?
My most hated. Probably green, which is hilarious.
Because you're a landscape painter.
And it's the most difficult color. Green is really hard.
It's really hard to nail, and what makes it so hard to nail?
Because there's like anything, there's so many variations, right? So when you got atmosphere involved, so then the green becomes a little bit more blue as it gets in the distance. You've got greens that need to be neutralized. Well, you can neutralize it with red or its complement, or orange, and you neutralize it. So there's so many varieties in nature. There's a million of them. So I mean, and if you do it wrong, it looks bad.
Yeah. What do you consider success?
Ooh, I want to get known out there, and I want to get in U.S. galleries. To me, that's important. I guess I want to get as far as I possibly can.
Yeah. Okay. Which is amazing. I mean, you're starting to get more and more known, and you are incredibly passionate about your work.
Oh, I won't quit, and if I don't get in a show, instead of giving up like a lot of people, it just makes me mad, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try harder, and I'm going to get in there next time.
Yep, that's pretty amazing. Now, we were discussing a little bit about how the U.S. is a little bit different than Canada in terms of when we talk about realism and plein air. Canadians tend to be drawn to more of the impressionist.
Yeah,
abstract. The abstract and those kind of things right now doesn't necessarily mean, but in the States in particular, there's a whole movement around this. Is there any reason, do you think, for that?
I think, well, you got Eric Rhodes in the U.S. who is he's pushing plein air. He's trying to get 1 million plein air painters, and I'm telling you, he's got to be getting close because he pushes it so much, and he reaches far. Like, he's all over the U.S. and he's got artists all over, and then you have the ateliers in the States, and then what happens is students graduate, then they open up ateliers. So there's these art schools that are all over the States.
Right, and there's a lot of art competitions and a lot of different things kind of going on that they really encourage that. I wonder sometimes if it's also about the weather.
Possible.
Just in terms of sometimes you read.
I know. They don't. Some places don't have our winters.
Okay, so the scenes. So what's your favorite scene? There's got to be water in it. I love water, whether it's going to be a mud puddle. Yeah. Or whatever, a creek. I like water. If I can get water in, that makes me happy. And what's it? Why? What is it about the water?
It's fascinating to me to try to be able to get it realistic, get trees, sky, things reflected in it. Yeah. Like, to me, that. And seeing like rocks through the water and putting them in there and seeing them, and like my sisters go, how do you do that? Like, I don't understand. How do you do that? And I'm like, it's all shapes and colors. It's like anything else.
But when you get frustrated, what do you do?
Depends. If I'm out there and I get frustrated, sometimes I'll just take the thing and I'll just wipe it off and I'll start
Start
over.
again. Okay. So start again.
That's
That's good.
That's probably the most, I think, and or put it away and go back to it later.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I think that the more you paint, sometimes the more, for me anyway, the more I paint, sometimes the more frustrated I get.
Yes,
because
you're
what I
getting
see,
better.
because you're getting better. What I'm seeing in my head is not going, and it's like,
Yeah.
So I tend to just put it aside and say I'll come back to it and never come back to it. So I'm starting to have a burn pile.
Oh, yeah, I got my closet of shame there behind that door.
Closet of shame. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay. So what really so the two questions you asked are what turns you on and then what turns you off. So what really gets you excited?
When you go out and it's the light. It's the light. It's the perfect day, like the fall. I love the fall because the fall colors. I love the dying, the stuff that's dying. How there's a beauty in decay.
Yeah.
And you know, you have these flowers that are dying, and some of them, when they're dying, they're turning pink, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. So I love the fall because I love just the way the sky is in the fall. It's so different. I love how the colors of the trees up against that purpley gray blue sky is just so beautiful, and the light's a certain way. I don't know, I just love it. And then usually it's not too hot. Usually there's not as many bugs, so it's just perfect.
Yeah, that's amazing, actually. Well, autumn's my favorite time, mainly because of obviously the deciduous trees, the leaves turning. But the way you describe it makes me love it even more because it's the color and
It is. The color is amazing.
Yes.
That's my favorite time.
Yeah. Okay. One of the other things we talked about while we were visiting you plein air, and we also talked about upstairs, was you talk about how particularly you were taught to not see the master's hand, you call it, so that you don't actually see the paint strokes.
Yes.
Do you know that's how you're taught? Are you drawn to that? And is that something that you feel?
That I'm moving away from it. I was taught that's the academic way. That's how they teach you. You're not supposed to see the hand of the master, right? But when you do landscape and like still life, landscape, figurative work, it's so different. Yeah. It's so different. So you can see brushstrokes in my work, and I guess when I was at school, that's what I did. But I'm kind of moving away from that.
Okay, yeah, because I love brushstrokes. Yeah, I love being able to see the hand of the the paint,
that's right.
Paint application and that kind of stuff. But again, everybody's a bit different. Actually, what I'd like to do right now is, can we go over to visit your easel and your paintbrushes in your studio, and we'll just have a peek at it? Because one of the things that I find fascinating about in an artist studio is how they actually create. And again, I know you've got the big white studio outside, but you do come back and you do create in here as well. So okay, so can
Did you want to talk about the cartoon and stuff?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. Okay. So I can keep it going. So Denise, we're just going to keep going. All right. I am right here. And I'm going to come around you. Okay, actually, we're here in Denise Antaya's home. We're coming to have a look at where you work. So, can we go?
Yep, come on in.
Awesome. Okay, down the stairs.
Long stairs.
So the studio is in your home with some natural lighting. Your work, which is wonderful. This is all your finished work.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you want to see,
I'm interested in two things. Your closet of shame. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm actually interested in where you create when you're here.
This is where we were.
Oh, wow.
That's another version of that. That was a plein air I did there a couple weeks ago.
Wow. Yeah.
So I kind of just did a little bit different angle this time.
So this is a studio where you do work, and it's also a bit of a gallery.
Yeah.
Actually, so though it's, that if you're if you're painting every day, you've got works kind of on the go that you then frame up.
Yeah.
You've got studio works, like there's no way you could do that outside. Yeah, that's
studio.
Wow. How long would it take you to paint that?
I don't know, week and a half or
A
something.
week and a half, like working every day all.
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours a day maybe or something like that. I don't know.
Wow. Oh. So the process is basically you finish the painting on location. If you haven't finished it on location, you'll either come back or do some small things here. You frame it up.
I frame it up.
Wow. And then if you are inspired to do a studio work, you then do it from your plein air piece. So.
But I don't do that very often.
So are these out of your head then?
No, from photos. I don't. This was the plein air that I worked on the day that you didn't get to come and see me, and it was a house with the really charming garden, right?
Okay.
So that was the one I did there.
So that's the plein air from the paint event.
That paint day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So. But anyways, that's it. That's me in a nutshell.
Well, no, but hang on. There's your easel. That's a beautiful easel.
Oh, I had it made.
So you had your easel made for you?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So what have you got?
So I have what we call at the school, we call it a cartoon. So what it is you do your drawing. When it's complicated, when there's buildings and stuff, I like to do a drawing in advance, right?
Yeah.
So you do your drawing, and then you take the back and you scrub in whatever, if it's burnt umber. This year I used transparent red oxide, which I regretted. But
I actually love transparent red oxide.
I know, but I regretted it when I was painting because it was really hard to not get it into the paint.
Okay.
So anyways, you scrub in the paint, and then you put it on your panel, and then you trace it with the pen, and so then your drawing is transferred on there without using a pencil or charcoal. It's actually paint. So you never have to worry about graphite coming through the painting at a later stage or whatever, because it's paint already.
Oh, okay.
So that's called a cartoon.
So it's cartoon. It's kind of like when you go learn about the Renaissance masters, they would take pieces like that and they would poke holes.
Oh, yeah.
And then put the paint through it so that their cartoon was transferred to the surface that they were doing. Okay.
So
that's amazing. Okay.
So I usually keep the cartoon till after I've got it painted, because if I screw up and I have to redo a transfer, like if I screw up beyond repair and I have to totally redo it, I still have the cartoon.
Oh, wow. Okay. So these are kind of all the tricks of the trade, obviously. You know, so it's like learning to draw. Anybody can learn to draw once they learn perspective and measuring and those kind of things. It's just, but it just takes time.
Yeah, that's right. It's a lot of work.
So there's all of your paintbrushes.
Yeah, so I've got my paint drawer, which used to be neat in the days of old.
Yeah.
I've got my paintbrushes, what's in my kit. And then the rest is just, odds and sods. Business cards.
That kind of stuff. Okay.
Oh, and this saying, this is what I had on my easel for a long time. It's impossible, said pride. It's risky, said experience. It's pointless, says reason. Give it a try, whispered the heart.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that's...
Yeah.
You think, in the beginning, you think it's impossible, but you just don't give up. You just keep doing it.
Well, it's impossible, and by not giving up, look at that. Wow. So thank you, Denise. I really appreciate you spending time. I really appreciate the getting to know you a little bit more just over the past few months. Actually, I've admired you from a distance. So that's the one thing I love about doing the paint box is all the artists I get to meet. And
it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to meet you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response Line.